Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I have the honor and the privilege of having a game designer, a senior game designer, in fact, joining me. This is Martin. He is working on a new upcoming digital TCG called Might and Magic Fates. The game just finished its closed beta. If you guys are interested in checking out some gameplay, you can on the live section of the channel. I did a few streams and I really enjoyed playing the game so far. But I have a list of questions I want to have during this interview with Martin. So we're going to dive straight into it, starting off with a bit of an introduction and learning a bit more about Martin's role. So to start off, who are you and what do you do on the Might and Magic Fates team?
Hi everyone. So yeah, I'm Martin Montreal, and I'm a senior game designer on Fates. Uh, I'm here from the beginning of the project. I mean, I was even here before because I started the paper prototype.
Wow.
Because as a card game, it was cool because uh, we were able to make a paper game first, and so we are working on this for about 2 years now. And yeah, I'm here for the beginning. So
Awesome. No, that's great to hear. Super interesting to hear that you guys were doing like a paper prototype. I know that's something that I'd heard similarly from a game like Marvel Snap, right, which is another mobile card game. I remember Ben Brode talking through some of his initial designs during a GDC talk, and he was like, "Yeah, I just had like some of my old business cards from when he worked at Blizzard, and they made like this paper prototype, started writing it on cards." So super interesting to learn a bit about the initial design process, which is super
yeah,
cool.
I have some example here maybe.
Ah, I can see there. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
Bone
it's
Armory.
yeah, it's really rough, and I still have some of them. Some were better, and we
Ah,
had some time
very
to print
nice.
them, so it's an improvement. But
Awesome. Yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's a particularly good card in my opinion as well. Bless the one
yeah.
yeah, you can give extra
Uh,
attack.
what is funny is that some of them had changed a lot,
I see.
but some of them are still the same, like 2 years later, and because the first draft was maybe good enough. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome, man. That's awesome. So yeah, moving on to experience and inspiration. So, what's your previous experience working on digital or physical card games in the past?
yeah. So in the past, I mean, I've been game designer for about 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I worked on many different type of game. I worked on horse game, MMORPG, sports simulation game like volleyball game,
Mm-hmm.
card games, many kind of games. But it's the first time I work on a card game as a job.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was my dream when I, I mean, I wanted to be a game designer just for this, for
Mm-hmm.
doing some card game because it's a kind of game I loved since my childhood. And this is the first time I'm doing this professionally, but I did a lot of prototype for myself when I was younger. Um, and also I played a lot of card games. So the main inspiration personally was Magic the Gathering because I discovered card game with this one. Also, I played a lot of Duel of Champions, um, which was a previous digital card game in the Might and Magic universe.
Mm-hmm.
I even did some tournament at this time, even if the game unfortunately doesn't last really long. But I played Hearthstone a lot, obviously. I mean, obviously, it's not obvious for everyone, obviously, but uh, I spent a lot of time and money in it. And then when we start discussing about making a card game here at the with the team, we also tried a lot of different game just as a benchmark, and
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of Flesh and Blood,
Mm-hmm.
and also the Star Wars physical card game,
Mm-hmm. Star Wars
which
Unlimited.
has
Yep.
which had a lot of really cool idea, and and then among the team, a lot of people have different influences, such as some players are more into Runeterra, uh, some people are more into Lorcana, and so it's interesting because sometimes I had precise idea in my head, but someone else comes and say, yeah, but this game it works like this, and it opens me some new new path.
For sure, yeah, no, I think that's super interesting, and like some stuff I have in my notes here is that when I first played the game, I felt like I shared a lot of DNA with the likes of Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra, and especially Star Wars Unlimited that you mentioned because um, you kind of have so in Star Wars Unlimited, you have what's known as the action phase and the regroup phase. The regroup phase is when you're kind of readying all of your stuff and you're putting resources down from your hand. But during the action phase, it's kind of like I will take an action and then pass it over to you to make an action, and that consists of either playing a card, making an attack, exhausting your leader or tapping your leader to do something. And what I found very interesting about Fates is it kind of took a lot of what was great about that system and kind of separates the action phase into two separate phases, which is your deployment phase, right? So whoever has basically the attack token or the initiative token will play their cards first, then the opponent will play their cards, and then this kind of I do something, you do something kicks in during the combat phase, which I found so interesting, so like strategical because you're always thinking about the math, right? It's like, okay, if I hit my 3-2 into this guy, then do I leave my opponent with a favorable trade? But then all of a sudden, there's a completely new layer that Fates adds, which is actually the limited amount of board space, which I personally really enjoyed. So you can only have 6 creatures at a time, essentially, if you include the hero.
The hero. Yeah.
Yeah. And I found that super interesting because all of a sudden, you don't always care about value trading as it's known in other card games such as Hearthstone, right? Like if I use my 3-3 to attack into a 2-3, then I have a 3-1 left and it survives, right? In Fate, sometimes you actually want to be making attacks where your creature dies to free up board space to be able to play more cards the next turn. I thought, the depth and the strategy that goes along with that, as well as that happens within the combat, was super super interesting. So from a gameplay standpoint alone, I think you guys have really broken into something super unique, super 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 cool. So um yeah, as we get into kind of the core gameplay mechanics, would you be able to walk us through some of the unique gameplay systems, such as the gold production system? So this allows for another level of card balancing, right? It's like um, another lever to pull, right? So you have like usually the card stats of the attack and the health, and then the cost. But now with this gold production value, that's another way you can kind of balance cards.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
would love to hear maybe how that mana system came about if possible.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot to talk about this because we made a lot of iteration. But first, initially, our goals was to make a game that was not so far from Hearthstone to not lose player
Mm-hmm.
and to keep some kind of establishment,
Mm-hmm.
gameplay
Familiarity, right?
establishment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, our goal was to make something that make you think in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this was all the challenge. Uh, but also, we want to make something where you can jump into the game and go straight into in an interesting phase.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to avoid the kind of the classic mana curve system
Sure.
that we can find in most of the game, and we think that it could also make something more punchy, but also more interesting because you will have to think in a different way. And for the goal system, at the beginning, as I said, it was a paper prototype, and actually you had to discard a card
Mm-hmm.
to gain the goal value
I see.
mentioned. So on the paper, it was really interesting and it worked.
Ah, so it's similar
But
to
then,
like Flesh and Blood, right? I believe Flesh and Blood you can like pitch a
yeah,
card to kind of get the mana, right?
yeah, exactly. Not exactly the same, but mainly.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a trade to make in your head, and like, okay, I could discard both of these and play this, or this one that had a lot of value, but play all of my end. And when we start the digital version of the game, uh, we just realized that it was hard to make this work
Digitally, right? Yeah.
on computer
Hmm.
on mobile. So we try to simplify this, and that's why we automatized it a bit.
Yep.
So at the beginning, I was like, "Oh no, I'm so sad. It lacks a lot of deepness." But finally, I think it was a good move, and it's a bit more casual because you have less mathematical stuff to do in your head. I mean, you still have to do later in the fight phase, but at least in the setup phase, it was easier to handle. And yeah, that's lead to this system that we currently have. And yeah, maybe we will talk about the balance of the gold production, gold value later.
Sure, sure.
But
Definitely, yeah. Um, there's another unique mechanic I'd like to talk about, which is shelving cards. And shelving is
yeah,
again, this is something else to me that reminds me of. I've very, very briefly played Flesh and Blood, but I believe it's your arsenal, right, where you can kind of store a card so that you can use it a little bit later. Shelving seemed quite interesting to me there, and I know there's a maybe from what I've seen, some new players come in and say, "Oh, shelving, what is this?" And then as soon as they kind of do it, they realize, the value I get from this is I get to have way more gold available on my turn. I have a lot more options available. So, is this one of the first things that, or one of the first mechanics you guys kind of brought into it, or is this something that took some time as you developed the game?
actually, the shelf was one of the first uh, card mechanics we had
Awesome.
in the game. But it's interesting because you make the reference to Flesh and Blood.
Hmm.
But for this one, at least for me, I didn't even think about this. It was just a kind of actually this was our draw mechanics.
Hmm.
But when we first tried a draw,
Hmm.
I was like, but draw is useless actually because you will refill your hand at the end of the turn.
Yep.
So it doesn't add any value. So I was like, okay, how to try to find something like the feeling of a draw, but
Hmm.
which feels valuable for the player, and uh, and that's what draws the mechanics as it currently is. It's like just you put aside a card
Hmm.
or many cards if you shelve a lot, and on the next turn it's like you're at the casino, whoa, so many money, so many
Yep.
options.
Hmm.
So it's a bit bread and butter because, as you mentioned, you also have more gold, but you also have more gameplay option.
Hmm.
That's why it's a little bit hard to balance correctly.
Hmm.
But the main intention regarding this was to have some kind of power spike
Hmm.
because as we said, we don't have a real mana curve system, so sometimes the pacing can feel a bit linear. Uh, but shelf mechanics is here to pump it up a bit, and
For sure.
yeah, basically when you use some shelf ability, it costs you a lot of tempo,
Hmm.
but then you can have a big turn after, and it's interesting for a combo deck because it's allow you to play good synergies in the same turn and to prevent you from being countered or stuff like that.
For sure, yeah, no, I think it's super interesting, and it's exactly what you said. Yeah, you kind of trade tempo for value in a sense, right? It's like drawing a card in any other game. It's like you could be developing a body or a creature on the board, but instead you gain more resources. You sacrifice tempo to gain more card value or card resources, essentially. Um, yeah, I haven't gotten to play around with Shelf too much at the moment, from at least the initial time I had within the closed beta. But I think there's some. I imagine there's some super cool things you can do, such as, and this just goes for all of the decks in general. Where let's say you have kind of a full board, you've lots of creatures there. Suddenly, if you play enough spells, right, then you can really take advantage of your gold. Where I don't know if there's some spells where you can deal with some of your opponent's threats on the board, maybe buff up some of your own creatures. So I think there's a lot of different things that you can do with shelving, and it's a mechanic that I found to be super interesting, and I'm excited to explore it more once we move into the open beta and closer to the full release. But sticking to the core gameplay mechanics, I have a question for you, which is, what's your favorite mechanic or keyword in the game so far, and why?
I think it's Shell. Yeah, because I mean, in terms of keyword, it's Shell, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, because as you said, it's a lot of stuff. It gives a feeling of power,
Hmm.
of possibility, and as a player, I love a control deck,
Sure,
so
sure,
that's
makes
why I
sense.
like this kind of. But in terms of mechanics, it's hard to say because I think a lot of features in our game works together,
Hmm.
and if you remove one, you will break the whole kind of engineering.
Sure.
So, so I think the what we would with the mana curve by removing it and doing some the gold system we have is something I liked a lot because it it makes you as I said, it makes you play straight from the first turn,
Hmm.
and it avoids some kind of long game.
Yep.
But yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah,
uh,
cool. I think one of my favorite ones is, like, it's like so simple, but it's like just ranged as a keyword. Where obviously you can hit flying creatures, which is super strong, but the idea of always, at least when I play, always kind of wanting to attack with these creatures first, so that I get value and that they survive, right? So
yeah,
if I have the attack token, I want to be making an attack with my 3/2 ranged onto one of my opponent's creatures, so that then they feel like they might have to attack my ranged character, because if they don't, then I might get some good value out of it later, and I might keep surviving. Um, and I also like that the fact that my creature's already attacked; it's kind of gotten its value, and instead of my opponent having to attack one of my creatures that hasn't attacked yet, they have to attack one that's attacked, and then they lose value. Right? It's all about the strategy, all about the depth, which I really find interesting. And it's so simple, right? It's just the simple keyword that says, yeah, you basically don't take any damage back when you attack, but there's so much depth and so much strategy that comes along with something as simple as this. So yeah, I'll move into the talking about the more of the design and balance. So some stuff I have on my notes here is, balance wise, the hero cards, they're level 4 abilities, which, for those of you who don't know, watching the video, every time you attack with your hero, you gain essentially like half an experience point, and then once you get to one full experience, you're able to level up your hero. That presents you with two different options. Maybe it buffs up your creature's health or buffs up your creature's attack in some way, and then each hero, as you level it up further and further, kind of gain unique abilities. But as I was playing the closed beta, I noticed that once you get to the max level, which is 4, their abilities start to feel extremely powerful. And initially, I'm kind of sitting there going, "Wow, this is crazy. The power level of these are absolutely insane." But I'd love to discuss that with you, because from my point of view, I believe that's probably quite an intentional design, because you want to be able to close the game out pretty not pretty fast, but to make sure it doesn't get drawn out too long. So making sure that they have powerful abilities once they're at their max level is probably quite important. For example, I believe the Haven hero is like, every time a creature attacks, it gets +1 attack, right? So sometimes you're left with this absolutely crazy huge hero, or for the Necro hero, it's they get life leech, I believe, right?
life
So
leech, yeah,
they're able to kind of stay in the game for quite a long time. So I would love to hear um maybe some of the
sure,
design and even balance for those, because balancing them sometimes can feel difficult, right? You want them to feel very
indeed.
powerful, but you don't want them to be game breaking, I suppose, right?
Yeah, for the level 4, you are right. The main goal was to give some skills that will close the game in like 1 or 2 turn,
Mm-hmm.
because we need some. We are on mobile first, so we need to add some kind of security to prevent game from lasting too much. which is still currently the case actually. So we need to to
To
to do
work
some
on it a little
stuff
bit.
regarding
Yeah.
this. But
Yeah.
but the intention with the level up system was to obviously to fit with the brand also, and to I mean in a classic game, in a normal situation, a game will end before level 4.
Mhm.
So in my mind, we reserve the level 4 skill for player who intentionally made a deck with kind of experience accelerator or stuff like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
And currently, it's not exactly what happens, so we need to fine tweak this. But the first intention was to make the level 4 not mandatory for every game.
Sure.
It's like the end game, and not none of all the games should go to the end game.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that makes
So,
sense.
but that's why sometimes their skill looks a bit disproportionated regarding others because it's a real spike of power.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's intentional for the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, and then speaking into kind of the end game and making sure games don't get drawn out too long, I have some notes here about your fatigue mechanic, as I've called it, similar to Hearthstone. So Hearthstone, whenever you run out of cards in your deck, you start to take incremental damage. So 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage for every card you draw. And I did have some games where I basically ran out of cards in my deck, and I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's every turn that you don't play a card, you take some
Yeah,
damage. And does this start to double? Is it like 1, 2, 4, 8, or how does it work?
I think it double every turn.
Okay.
Uh, but I'm not even sure because we almost never see this.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, game game end before this.
Mm-hmm.
So this feature is not the one I'm the most proud of. It was more a kind of security than something that players should discover in the game.
Sure.
Um, at the beginning, obviously, I was like, okay, we will do the same fatigue system as in Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
When you have no more cards, you take damage. But in our system, player could cheat regarding this because if they just don't play their last card, they will have
They
always a
can keep
card
cycling,
in
right?
the deck.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we had to find something else, and we had to base the damage on another event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we just choose to base this on not playing cards. Uh, I think there is some more iteration to do with this. Uh, but it's not a big deal because if I did well the balancing, player shouldn't go until
Shouldn't
there.
go.
So
Yeah. Sure.
yeah,
Sure. It's super interesting, yeah, because like you mentioned, it is a mobile card game at first, and I remember in the closed beta, I had 1 or 2 games that went quite long. And granted,
yeah,
I was
I know.
also streaming, and I'm also explaining, but it's difficult because maybe for somebody like you, and especially for somebody like me, like I love card games, I love strategy, I love depth. So the game going along for me at least wasn't so much of a problem, but for the overall audience, this should be a mobile card game. The game should be relatively quick. But I'm also a player who likes to maybe get some drawn out games, try to accrue some value over the turns and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, I found it interesting, and like you said, I kind of discovered this new fatigue system. I was like, oh, this is super interesting. But those end game states were yeah, definitely interesting to say the least.
but this is one of our main focus right now. It's to avoid some longer game because some games can be long for an interesting reason. But some games currently just stall for no real reason and no real interest for both players.
Hmm.
So we try to just not cut some stuff and try to really identify the real situation which are a problem.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's about life leech on the hero,
Hmm.
life leech on both heroes.
Yep.
So we have some different way to work around, and it's coming.
For sure, for sure. There is actually something I don't have this on my notes, but I'm curious because I personally haven't played enough games to establish an opinion on this myself, but I know in card games in general, usually there is this thing of first player advantage. The player who goes first usually, establishes their characters first, and in this game you don't have summoning sickness. Characters can attack instantly, right? But the biggest advantage you get is whoever has the attack token, right, will make the first move. In your experience for playtesting so far, would you say there is like many other card games, a noticeable first player advantage? Because card games like Hearthstone and stuff have implemented systems like the coin to try and help the player going second. Have you noticed anything like this so far in your kind of initial play testing, or does it seem to be pretty balanced for the most part?
That's a really good question, and we have some data regarding this. I didn't check them yet, so I just want to check right now.
Sure, sure, sure,
So
sure.
yeah, you give me a really good point.
Cool, cool.
Um, I mean, regarding players, what is really interesting is that when I ask some people, there is no real how to say. Every player will say something different. Some
Sure.
player just prefer to be second. Some player love to be first. And in a term of emotion, I think we already win this fight
Mm-hmm.
because player can't argue uh, which either is better.
Sure.
So at least it's good in this way. But we will have to confirm it in the tracking,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's
but yeah, the initiative is really interesting, as you mentioned, in the gameplay because and that's how we make some cards. I mean, when I design a card, sometimes I'm like, okay, this card I want it to be good if you're first,
yes. Yep.
or I want it to be good if you're second. And this is a advanced knowledge, game knowledge. So new player don't think about this, obviously, but once you understand the mechanics, you will say, oh, okay, this card at the beginning it looks trash, but actually it could be really interesting in this situation
Mm-hmm.
or the opposite.
Yep.
And but yeah, this is a big point of our game.
Awesome. Yeah. Like there's a really good example. One of the cards I opened from one of my packs was like it's a 4 cost spell within Haven, and I believe it deals 3 damage to the hero, and I think 3 damage to
Both
the
adjacents.
characters. Yes,
Yeah,
adjacent to it, and that's a perfect example of a card where you nearly want it when your opponent has the initiative token because they're deploying their creatures first, and then as you're deploying, or even as they're going to make the first attack, they've basically, let's say they've committed 2 creatures to the board, and before they can even attack, you use the spell and
yeah,
you get rid of them, right? So it's a perfect example of, whereas if I was going first, I would maybe, if I had the card, I'd have to save 4-ish gold to then spend it after, once it gets passed over to them, once I've done my first attack. So yeah, I think designing cards like that is super, super interesting. And there's many other card games I play at the moment where they actually struggle with the play draw disparity. Most of the decks are very, very strong going first and not so strong going second. And now I can see them trying to balance that within certain card designs where literally some cards saying, if you're the second player, you get a certain thing, which is very, very interesting. But yeah, speaking about playtesting, for example, I have some notes here on, for example, some other trading card games, such as Disney Lorcana, one that I'm a big fan of. The game design team creates the ideas and creates a lot of the cards, and then they have a game development team that kind of refines and balances these cards. Is your structure something similar, you would say, where you have some people dedicated to design and then dedicated to development, or would you say your game dev and design team is kind of one big team?
uh, for us, I mean, I do all of this. I'm not alone. We are two senior game designer,
Mm-hmm.
and we have also another game designer who helps us.
Mm-hmm.
But we are just three, and we split the task. But I'm more into balancing stuff and core mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to touch every kind of of domain. So
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think that's super interesting as well because the difficult thing is I always like no matter what card game it is, and you could have a team of 3 people, a team of 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, and as soon as you pass the game over to the players, they will play infinitely more games with the cards, and they will
sure,
of course discover so many things. So I think when it comes to play testing and balancing, it's an extremely difficult thing because you only have a certain limited amount of resources, limited amount of time. I've heard that you've worked with some former and current professional Hearthstone players
exactly.
within France. I'm not sure. I might name drop somebody. I don't know if it is one, but I believe Gabby is
I
one who
think
is
it's
very, very good.
yeah, exactly. I
Hmm.
think there's no legal reason to not mention them.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's Gaboom, Forda King,
Hmm.
Nameless,
Hmm.
and JRP, and some of them, and it's a really nice experience even for me because as you mentioned first, sometimes we just walk in a kind of closets
Yep.
and think about okay, it will be work like this, people will do this. Then I give them the build in half an hour. They find many exploits, and I'm like, oh, okay, I had to redraw everything.
Sure.
but but I think it's a really nice thing because as a player, I played a lot of game when they come on the market. They have a lot of big unbalance
Hmm.
issues, and by doing this, I think we prevent a lot of them. Obviously, there will be some issues at the release, but I think we managed to fix a lot of a lot of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I just think that's great that you guys want to work with people like this, very, very good, well experienced card game players. And like you said, give them a build, let them experiment, see if they can find some broken things. Because already giving that to, I don't know, a group of 10 people, you get way more data, you get way more information. And even something that we just had, like the closed beta, right? I saw there were some balance adjustments for, I believe, the graveyard, which was a building I found
Yeah, yeah,
extremely strong. Um,
we do.
yeah, yeah. So no, I think it's super, super cool, and I would love to see more of that in the future. Moving ahead, that you keep working with these
Yeah.
people as much as you can, of course, because as you said, I think it really shows and it really helps the overall um, direction
This
of
is
the balance.
yeah. Sometimes it's hard also as a game designer because I have to listen the problems, but I have to find a way to fix them because some they are really good to identify issues, but not so to fix them
To fix
because
them, right?
sometimes yeah exactly because sometimes they will just suggest some changes, but it doesn't have the all maps,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to find a way to fix the problem, and but that's was really interesting because sometimes they said, okay, this card it's broken, it will never work. You should remove it.
Mm-hmm.
The next week, I made a change. I saw them. The card is still there, but with small minor changes, and they are like, oh, it's wonderful. It's still playable now, and
Awesome.
it's fun and stuff.
No, that's very, very cool. Yeah, for sure. Um, Next, I have modes and features as another topic. So, are there any plans for some additional game modes in the future, such as draft or sealed or limited play down the line, such as like the arena mode within Hearthstone?
Yeah, we had this discussion at the beginning of the project, and we want to do something like this, but it wasn't at the beginning. It was planned for the release, but we didn't have time to. We won't have time to do
Mm-hmm.
this, so I
Mm-hmm.
hope it will come later if the game uh, is a good success
Mm-hmm.
and can live long, which is I hope. Uh, but at the release there won't be this because it's really costly.
Of
It means
course.
you have to, or sometimes it's almost you need to do another game.
Yeah, it's like an
but
entire new game, nearly, right? It's an entire new
yeah,
system. So,
but yeah, as a Magic the Gathering player, I'm in love with the draft system or two-headed trolls games, stuff
yep,
like that. So
yep.
I hope we will have something not the same, obviously, because as a game designer, I don't want to do same stuff that's already existing. I always want to add a twist. But yeah, I hope we will have time to do this. But it's not plain yet.
Sure. So there's some more features I'd love to discuss with you if possible. So, what are your thoughts on features like card crafting and disenchanting, such as which happens in Hearthstone, to help players target specific cards that they want? I personally think that this is an extremely important feature for card accessibility, and I remember I spoke to you about this when I first met you at Gamescom, and as far as I remember, this is something I believe you said like you're very willing to monitor and see how the community feels about this because um, my professional job is I work in the physical TCG industry for Card Market, who's an online TCG marketplace, and card accessibility is one of the most important things to me as a player, right? And I know it's a difficult thing to try and get right, but it's one of the most important things in my opinion, so that players can keep exploring new cards. It doesn't take them so long to maybe unlock some new strategies and find some new cards. So, would love to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah. We had the we will have the disenchanting system,
Mm,
which is the same as Hearthstone,
yep.
let's say. So you can trade your own cards for gold, which
Mhm.
is a soft currency.
Mhm.
With Verse Gold, you can buy some boosters,
Mhm.
but we won't have a crafting system to be able to make the exact card you want. But sometimes you will be able to get some cards like every week there is kind of a card of the week,
Sure.
and you will be able to trade some cards to get this one.
Cool.
Um, and all of this is just a yeah Web 2 system.
Mhm.
Uh, but as we have a kind of NFT part,
Mhm.
we keep the gain of a specific card with the NFT part. So you can buy a card on the marketplace, uh, but we hope that the price will be really affordable
Mhm.
because there is no limited number.
Mhm.
So in the team, we almost every member of the team are Web 2 players.
Mhm.
So so we don't want to have
Sure.
a financial wall that prevent player from playing or enjoying the game. So basically, you can have all the content without paying anything, just
Mhm.
by playing like Hearthstone.
Mhm.
But to get a specific card, uh, you will have to buy it on the marketplace.
Sure.
Uh, but yeah, it's a bit a mystery even for us. We don't know how it will react. But as a Magic player from physical era,
Mhm.
uh, I see this like okay, people trade cards between them and buy a card to another people
Yep.
classer.
Mhm.
Not classer is not the word, I guess. In it may be only in French, but so so yeah, we will see. And if it turns to be an issue, we have a lot of live content tools to try to manage this. So
Awesome, yeah. I mean, even the idea that that's something I wasn't aware of, which is cool, where it reminds me of there was kind of like a shop system within Marvel Snap where a certain new card would kind of come every week and you have the opportunity to try and target the one specifically. I assume there will be a rotating card for
yeah,
each person every week in terms of it's the same card, but then I also kind of like the idea of maybe a personalized rotation one of that as well. So maybe for some cards that you don't own and they're on this like rotation, so you're not able to target a specific one. But I know that was one system I kind of liked in Marvel Snap where it was like this rotating shop and you had the ability to like pin a certain card. So if there was a card that you really wanted, you could like pin it and then wait until you have enough currency and kind of get it. And then that way, that's also
yeah,
a unique collection for each player, right? So if there's a brand new card that comes out for the week, everybody has the chance to get it. But if there's some cards that people are trying to catch up on, some people have more Inferno cards and some people have more Necro cards. So I think there's so many interesting things that you can do. But yes, ultimately for the marketplace, I do agree. I also just kind of view it as, yes, you're just basically trading with another player to get a specific card. We don't have to get into it too much, but do you know roughly at the moment if it would be like, you can trade any card, like, I don't know, 5 common cards for a specific legendary, or is it kind of you trade a legendary card for a legendary
For
card?
the Web 2 parts,
Hmm.
for the weekly cards,
Hmm.
we don't set the design yet, but
Okay.
it will probably something for like you trade for the same rarity.
Yep. Yep.
So so I, I think the first draft will be something like this,
Yep.
and we will see if it's enough or if we have to add more disenchanting
Hmm.
to get a wealthy economic system. Or yeah, this part is more into our live content manager
Sure. Sure.
than
The design element,
yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like, this is the difficult thing, right? It's like you do the design and you make the
yeah.
cards, and the other stuff, the difficult stuff, is left to the live content. Yeah, which makes a lot of sense for sure. There is another thing I want to mention though for features, and again, this isn't specifically for game design, but you mentioned, you're a big player of card games. So I say, as a competitive player and a professional TCG caster myself, I'd love to know if you guys as a team plan to support community tournaments, any type of official tournaments, or in-game matchmaking with friends, so kind of peer-to-peer tournaments. And one thing in particular, as somebody that's run community events before for digital card games, it is another big system to try and implement, but if there's the potential for a spectator mode, I think that would be absolutely huge to try and help support that tournament scene, because if not, it would be quite difficult to try and do
Yeah, sure.
Discord screen sharing, trying to get different things. So something like the Hearthstone social system, I assume, right, where you maybe have a friends list, you can invite friends, you can play against friends, and then the option to spectate. So again, I know this isn't specifically to you, but as a player, is that something you would like to see come to the game?
Yeah, and this is something that is I think it's coming soon.
Awesome.
We already are working on friend invitation game, so be able to play with a friends, which will helps to also manage some tournaments. In the first draft, it will be a bit people we have to handle the, the organization around this, but we try to add the tools that will help player for this, and the I think the spectator mode is already planned. I don't know if it will be at the release or maybe a few later, but I guess it's really soon. So hope so.
Awesome.
Um, and yeah, we want to we want to have some player doing some tournaments. So obviously this is something we have in mind, and we think that it's good for the player, but also good for us because, as you mentioned, it's help people to stream the game. So it's kind of marketing also,
Hmm.
marketing tool. And
For sure. Definitely. Um, Yeah, moving on towards, we're nearly here now to close it out, but I have like a future outlook section. So I know might be early days, but what can you share about your plans for future expansions and new sets? Are you envisioning larger sets every few months, so maybe every 3 to 4 months, or smaller, more frequent updates like maybe some mini sets? I assume this is very much based on general success of the game, of
yeah,
course.
obviously.
But if I guess if you had your success, right, is there a certain vision you would like to see of maybe some big sets and then some small sets?
Yeah, I think a bit of both, because we plan in the future to obviously add new factions. We don't know yet which ones, but in the Might and Magic's brand, there is a lot of other really cool factions. So we also plan on adding some new heroes in the existing factions and some heroes that will add a different kind of playstyle to the existing one. And obviously, I think in the this is not set yet, but we will have some kind of expansion. We'll add. I don't know exactly how much cards, but like maybe Hearthstone, like half the content of a big release
Hmm.
or stuff like that. But it will depends of on the success and of the also of the team and our future at Ubisoft also and yeah, many different variables can impact this.
Sure.
So, but as a game designer and uh, we really have a lot of idea for new effects, new type of cards, new many new stuff. So I hope we will have the chance to push this.
Awesome. Yep. Sounds cool. Um, Well, yeah, that's pretty much it for the interview. Thank you so much, Martin, for joining me. To finish off, I'll pass it over to you. Is there anything else you'd like players to know? Something that makes Might and Magic Fates especially unique for players to kind of try out. Like if there's one thing you could kind of pitch to players to give this game a shot, what would it be?
Uh, I'm not a good marketing artist, so my only sentence will be to try to play the game just maybe 2 games, and I think each games you will discover something that you didn't expect previously.
Hmm.
Because even me as a game designer, sometimes I make some designs, and once I play it in our system, because I'm a bit I have some bias
Hmm.
because I played a lot of Hearthstone,
Hmm.
so sometimes I will think of features a bit like how it would happen in Hearthstone or Magic, and then when I try in our game, I was like, whoa, it's it's really different. I didn't expect it, but it's feel really different and it's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of things can be at the first sight you can think the game is a bit similar, even visually, with existing games. But when you really try the kind of
Hmm.
alternate fights, uh, everything is different in your mind then.
Yeah, for sure.
So
It's
yeah,
it's it's super unique, and that's what's really drawn me into the game is the actual design and all of the work that you and your team put into it. So, um, yeah, best of luck as we approach closer to an open beta, closer to launch, and I would love to work with the team more in any way to try and promote the game. I know a lot of people watching will be very, very interested, and it could be a lot of people's first time jumping into even the world of Might and Magic. It is definitely my first time. I have a few friends who were telling me about the previous card game, Duel of Champions, and they said how much they enjoyed that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, and yeah, thank you once again for
yeah.
joining me.
Thank you, you too, and feel free to send some feedbacks, even the worst one. It's always a gift to have some feedbacks from player and engaged player. So and maybe see you later and see you on the later
Yeah, I'll see you on the ladder.
because
Yeah, for sure.
I will be playing for sure. So if you
Sounds good.
find if you fall on someone called Zacharias, which is my pseudo, it will be me probably.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you once again, Martin, and everybody watching. Thank you so much for sticking with us. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. It helps out the channel so much. And yeah, stay tuned because as we roll closer to open beta and to launch, I will definitely be showcasing more of Might and Magic Fates TCG. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.